If you had a shop down the street that you could take $20 into and walk out with $100, that would be a pretty popular shop. Maybe not a sustainable shop, but it would be pretty popular. If you can position your product as the shop that you can take $20 into and come out with 100, then you'll be onto a winner. So
welcome to the Business Bloke podcast. Growing your business doesn't have to be hard. I am your host, Andrew Savage, a business and mindset coach with plenty of leadership tools and strategies to help you grow your life and business. Give yourself permission to get curious, lean in, and enjoy this episode.
hey, Sav here, the Business Bloke. In this podcast, I am going to talk all about how to optimize your products. In the podcast leading up to this one, in this series, talked about taking your business on a mission and your marketing and sales strategies, but none of these really matter if you don't have something to sell. If you're a startup and in the process of building products, or perhaps you're seeking investment to build more products, or you already have a range of products that you're selling and looking to sell more or make more money from them, well, optimizing the profit from your product is the fuel that drives your business. It's actually a good idea to sit and analyze your products on a regular basis, or if you're in the process of starting up, actually make sure they have the margin that they think they do. Especially in bigger companies, we quite often give the responsibility for purchasing the ingredients of a product or outsourcing manufacturing, labor, that type of thing, to someone else. And we can lose control of the costs pretty quick. So it's a great idea on a regular basis to actually analyze the profitability of your products. We're living in a pretty volatile world, and input prices can jump really, really quickly. So we have to be careful that our margin isn't squeezed and we don't get caught out. It might sound silly, but how often do you actually sit down and analyze the input costs to a product? We get caught up in looking at P&Ls and balance sheets, the hustle of paying wages, that sort of thing, but we don't actually equate some of these costs to an individual product sold. We just look at it as the entirety of our business, and you may be surprised at the profit or lack of profit that you're actually making in one product versus another as some of these creeps come in. Not creepy people, creepy costs. And the other thing to consider is the non-financial costs of those products. Things like they take up space at your place or imputed labor. Other financial costs or non-financial costs, maybe that they're actually just a pain in the ass to make or build or supply, and your staff do not enjoy the process, so you have a different kind of cost associated with that as far as staff engagement. So that's something really important to look at as well. And analyzing all of these different parts of the costs that make up your product actually help you assign resources to the products that make you more money. And this is a bit of a weird example, I suppose, but you see this in the dairy farm space. Like, the products they sell is milk for one, but dairy replacement heifers are an asset to the business. And we have bobby calves. And in the spring, the farmer has to figure out how to allocate resources to bobby calves and not sacrifice the time that those staff should be putting into their replacement heifers. The replacement heifers are the ones that make them the money and really need all of the care and attention at the start. The bobby calves need to be kept alive and have to follow policy and protocol, but they actually don't make the farm any money. So how do we allocate our resources properly to the thing that is actually going to make us money in the long term? So doing these exercises may not be the death of a product, but what it might do is open some loops in your mind to figure out which is the best ways to make your products the most efficient. Can you look at these products in the entirety of your business? You could potentially bundle products together or add other things to your product. If you've got a product that's a bit marginal, maybe you could use it as a lead generator or somehow add it to something else to hook customers in. There's the thing about customers, they buy your products to fill specific needs. And we've talked in previous podcasts about positioning your product as the solution to people's problem. These problems actually come in different categories. So when you're analyzing your product, maybe have a think about some of these following categories. Customers want to make more money. So if you sell products that help people make more money, then you're onto a winner. And that's how you position that particular product. If you had a shop down the street that you could take $20 into and walk out with $100, that would be a pretty popular shop. Maybe not a sustainable shop, but it would be pretty popular. If you can position your product as the shop that you can take $20 into and come out with 100, then you'll be onto a winner. So think about that as how you position that product. On the flip side, your customers want to save money. So perhaps you have a product that helps customers save money, or you're about to build a product. So position it as a customer that helps people save money. I'm thinking solar panels, hot water recycling, those types of products that help primary producers save money. Another reason that customers buy products is to reduce their frustrations. I feel like in the ag tech space, this is where the rubber meets the road. And a lot of times farmers have got policies, climate change is coming at them. They're getting frustrated by the massive amounts of data, but the policies and things that are coming at them as well. So if you position your product as something that is going to reduce their frustration and make their life easier, then that is where we sit in this ag tech space, I feel currently. Another reason people buy product is to keep up with the Joneses. And it's funny, but status and identity is a reason that people buy certain products. I think about Lexus when I think about this category. Take a pretty standard Japanese car, put a bit of a different badge on it, some leather seats, a few other bits and pieces, and you have an elite vehicle that you can charge a massive amount of margin on. It's really about the identity of driving a Lexus. Otherwise, you would just drive the Camry, right? A Lexus is mutton dressed as lamb. Community is also another aspect to think about when you are building your product. And maybe your product is pretty average, but can you actually create a community around it? Creating a community around your product may actually be a way to increase its margin. I think about my kids are watching YouTube a bit. They love their mountain bikes, right? And there's a guy called Matt Jones. He's a mountain biker. He's kind of pioneered this community piece around creating YouTube videos for mountain bikes. He's been at it for a little while. And he actually came over to Tasmania a few months back and competed in the Red Bull Hardline. And he was swamped with fans. Like all of these kids here in Tassie wanted Matt Jones's signature. And he sells a brand of cycling clothing. He really, really hustled. He worked hard. He finished his ride and he would spend about an hour in the hot sun just signing everything, signing all of their bits and pieces that they were handing to him, Red Bull cans and hats and drink bottles, the whole lot. He has become a disruptor in the mountain bike space, and all the sponsors are now tripping over each other to get a piece of Matt Jones. So how could you position yourself as the Matt Jones of your product? The thing about him and disruption is it's not companies that disrupt. Like Tesla hasn't disrupted. Elon Musk is the disruptor. Amazon isn't a disruptor. Jeff Bezos is a disruptor. Disruption happens by people, not companies. So you can be a disruptor. Think about how you may be able to create a community or a movement around your product. Another category that people buy products is to simplify their life. People pay money to have their lives simplified because we're getting stressed and overwhelmed by all of the different things that are happening. there's just so much going on. Passwords and usernames and policy, and it's social media. It's becoming quite overwhelming. People will pay money to have their lives simplified. What can your product do to create a sense that your customer has just offloaded a big amount of stress? Because you can create margin around that. Tell that story. I think in the agri space, we have to be really mindful about creating new dashboards. We get all excited, create a shiny new dashboard. I talk about avatar and falling in love with the person that you serve. Is creating a new dashboard and another log on something that is going to simplify your farmer's life? Can you actually integrate? I feel collaboration with other organizations is really going to be the key in this data-driven world. So can you integrate with another company? Pick up the phone, ask the question. They may be having the same conversations. Another great way to position a product is to have one that has ongoing income. So subscription-based products is one avenue you can look at. We do have to be mindful. The primary producers are definitely getting more aware of subscriptions and multiple subscriptions. So, and in our businesses, we're the same. We've got point of sale systems. We've got subscriptions for Zoom, subscriptions for all different types of software. So it is something to be mindful of. Are you just creating another subscription? But is there a way that you can create ongoing revenue so that you don't just sell to a customer once, you actually create an ongoing revenue stream? And ongoing revenue is also potentially a way that you can crack down a barrier to entry. I see Halter have just decreased their prices by 37%. Halter is a virtual fencing company out of New Zealand, and they've been able to do that by increasing the amount of subscribing customers they have, which has given them momentum and created them a lever to now be able to reduce that barrier of entry. So they don't have a massive upfront cost, but they have an ongoing subscription. So it's a pretty smart tool. So in this ag tech and climate tech space, we have climate and social license to think about. The end consumer will spend more money on a product that they perceive to be better for the environment, better for animals, so they feel like they're doing their part. Is there something you can do to your product that makes it stand out in a social license sense? Perhaps it is your packaging. Perhaps it's the place it's manufactured. People are pretty conscious now of the people that are actually building this stuff. Be aware that price is not always the objection to people purchasing your product over another. Just dropping your prices can be referred to as the race to the bottom. Stick to your guns, add value in other ways other than discounting. Because really, what in this world, apart from Halter, which I just talked about, is actually getting cheaper or nothing. So people are anticipating the cost of living is increasing, but they will actually pay more for a product that they feel is doing some good for the planet. So there might be just a small way that you can send that message with your product. Something you can add to your product, and it doesn't have to be a thing, but it could be something you do. Might even just be a personal note. Like, don't just be a commodity. Some type of follow-up goes a long way. Farmers are making big decisions, big investments, machinery, like animal wearables is one I think about, times that by 1,000 animals. Margins in the agri space are getting tighter, but the businesses are getting bigger, so the turnover is increasing. So really position this as the future of your business, not just we need to get this sale and have a big sigh of relief and move on. Especially in a seasonal system, you want their business next season, surely. So do you want to reset and start again, or have that ongoing relationship? Do you want to be the buffet or the all-you-can-eat buffet? What about a hairdresser versus the hairdresser that actually grabs a beer out of the fridge or makes you a coffee? There is a difference, right? So how can you set yourself apart from your opposition as far as the way that you treat that customer? Think it is far cheaper to retain an existing client than it is to go to the market and find another one. I go by an analogy called the gas factor. Gas stands for give a shit. So give a shit about the person that is using your client. It's not just a set and forget, tick that box and move on. And that is a risk we run in the sales space, or when we engage salespeople to start selling our product. It's really important. The way you position this product has an exponential effect on how you can generate your income. I read a book a few years ago called Cadence by Pete Williams. And also this is part of Tony Robbins' business mastery program, but the compounding effect of tens. So consider this when you're building your product, right? If you are just starting out, you can start with a figure that you would like to earn this year. Maybe it's 100K, maybe it's $1 million. But if you're earning $1 million, think about this. If you can get 10% more customers, think about how you could get 10% more customers. And if you can get them to be spending 10% more with you, and that could be just by positioning yourself as one of those things I've just mentioned, create some type of premium that even if you increase your prices by 10%, they think they're getting a bargain. And then get those customers to come back 10% more often. That is 30% more revenue for your business. So if you're doing $1 million and you can strategize those 10% rules, then that's 300K extra revenue. Think about that. I'm actually in the process of building a program, and I'd love for you to come on board with me, and if you were interested in joining a waitlist for that. But I have the framework to position yourself to increase your revenue by 30% by tapping into those 3 principles. I hope this gives you some food for thought around products and not just getting stuck in that product phase, but what else could they mean? In my next episode, I'm going to talk about overheads and operating expenses. And that will be the 5th one in this series of 6. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Connect with me. I'm on LinkedIn, Andrew Savage, or I am TheBusinessBloke on Instagram, and we'll catch you shortly.
If you've got this far, you've reached the end of the episode, or you've left your car running. I really hope you got something out of this episode of the Business Bloke podcast, and maybe you've got something to take away to apply to your own business. I'm a pretty friendly bloke, so you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Just look up Andrew Savage, or on Instagram, the handle is TheBusinessBloke. Thanks for listening. Reach out, and we'll catch up with you soon. Good one. Cheers.